Welcome to Headphone News, Montreal edition for Friday, November 22nd, 2024.
Canada Post strike and government response. On November 15, 2024, around 55,000 Canada Post workers began a strike after negotiations with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers did not result in a new collective agreement. This strike has stopped mail delivery across Canada. In response, federal and provincial governments are putting contingency plans into action to ensure that important government mail and financial support checks still reach citizens. Most recipients of federal payments receive their funds through direct deposit, which helps reduce the strike's impact. Local offices in provinces like Ontario and Quebec are ready to assist those who need to pick up their payments. This situation underscores the vital role of postal workers in delivering essential services.
Inquest into Abdirahman Abdi's death. The coroner's inquest into the death of Abdirahman Abdi is ongoing in Ottawa, Ontario. Abdi, a 38-year-old Somali Canadian, died after a violent arrest by police in July 2016. Former officer David Weir testified that race did not play a role in his actions during the arrest. This statement has raised concerns about the understanding of systemic racism within policing. The inquest is examining police training regarding the use of force and how officers interact with individuals experiencing mental health issues. Abdi's death has led to public outrage and sparked discussions about police accountability and the treatment of marginalized communities in Canada. The inquest aims to address these important issues and promote necessary reforms within the Ottawa Police Service.
Montreal police arrest 6 in major fraud case. Montreal police have arrested 6 suspects linked to 2 bank fraud schemes that caused nearly $1 million in losses for around 50 victims. The suspects include 5 men aged 19 to 33 and a 22-year-old woman. They were apprehended after police conducted 7 raids in Montreal, St. Julie, and Carrigan municipalities in the Montérégie region of Quebec, Canada. The fraud schemes involved impersonating bank representatives to trick victims into providing personal information and transferring funds. In one scheme, a fraudster contacted victims claiming a fraudulent transaction had occurred in another province. Victims were instructed to cut their bank card and send it along with their personal identification number in an envelope. In another scheme, victims were convinced to transfer their money to a new account under the guise of bank security. During the raids, police found 3 firearms, highlighting the potential danger posed by the suspects. 4 of those arrested were expected to appear in court the same day, while the others were released with a promise to return later. Authorities expect more arrests as the investigation continues. Police also shared tips for the public to avoid falling victim to similar scams, stressing the importance of verifying calls from banks and not sharing personal information over the phone.
BC teen remains critical with avian flu. A teenager from the Fraser Health region of British Columbia, Canada, is in critical condition after testing positive for H5N1 avian flu. The teenager has been hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. Health officials state that the risk of spreading this virus to humans is low, mainly affecting those who work closely with infected birds. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has identified more cases of avian flu in poultry in Abbotsford and Chilliwack, British Columbia. Authorities assure the public that eating properly cooked poultry or eggs does not pose a health risk. The investigation is ongoing to find out how the teenager contracted the virus.
Quebec's economic update sparks criticism. On November 21, 2024, Quebec's Finance Minister Éric Girard announced a projected deficit of 11 billion Canadian dollars, approximately $8.1 billion US. Opposition parties, including the Quebec Liberal Party, criticized the government's economic update, claiming the actual deficit could reach 15 billion Canadian dollars, or about $11.1 billion US. Critics like MNA Frédéric Beauchemin and interim Liberal leader Marc Tanguay argued that the government's spending choices are misleading and wasteful. Concerns emerged about possible cuts to public services, with some parties warning that austerity measures may be on the horizon. This ongoing debate underscores significant issues regarding fiscal responsibility in Quebec.
Arrests in Laval Daycare assault case. On November 21, 2024, Laval police arrested 2 educators in connection with the alleged assaults of 5 children under the age of 5 at a daycare in Vimont, Laval, Quebec, Canada. These incidents reportedly took place during nap time in September and October. The suspects are facing multiple assault charges, and authorities are searching for a third individual linked to the case. This troubling situation raises significant concerns about child safety in daycare facilities and may prompt closer examination of child care practices in the community.
Roses FC holds tryouts for new women's soccer team. Roses FC, a new women's soccer team in Montreal, held tryouts in Laval, Quebec. 120 players participated, eager to show their skills and earn a place on the team. The tryouts took place at the Bois de Boulogne Sports Centre. Sporting director Marinette Pichon highlighted the importance of the event for women's sports. The team is gearing up for its first season in the Northern Super League, which kicks off in April 2025.
Northvolt files for bankruptcy. Impact on Quebec plant. Northvolt, a Swedish battery manufacturer, has filed for bankruptcy protection, raising concerns about its $7 billion electric vehicle battery plant planned for Montréal, Quebec. Quebec's economy minister, Christine Fréchette, reassured the public that operations at the McMasterville site will continue as planned. Northvolt has already invested over $100 million in this project. The Quebec government has invested $170 million in Northvolt's parent company, which raises concerns about financial risks. Experts suggest that this bankruptcy could lead to a stronger Northvolt in the future. The company plans to restructure its debt and adapt its operations to better meet client needs. Northvolt assures stakeholders that this decision will not impact its operations worldwide, including the Quebec plant. The bankruptcy process allows Northvolt to access $145 million in cash collateral to reorganize its operations, along with an additional $100 million secured from investors. The implications of this event extend beyond Northvolt, potentially affecting local jobs, the Quebec economy, and the global battery market, which is vital for the growing electric vehicle industry.
Investigation into passport issuance to human smuggler. A Canadian parliamentary committee is set to investigate how Thesingarason Razia, a known human smuggler, obtained a new Canadian passport despite being banned from having one. This inquiry follows Razia's arrest in April 2021 for smuggling a person into Canada. In June 2023, police found the new passport during a raid at his home in Montreal, Quebec. The committee will hear from key officials, including the immigration minister and the public safety minister. This situation raises serious questions about the passport application process and its ties to law enforcement. The hearings are expected to occur before December 18, 2024.
CRTC consults on fibre internet access in Canada. On November 21, 2024, the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, or CRTC, announced a consultation to determine if Canada's 3 largest telecom companies, Bell Canada, TELUS, and Rogers, should be allowed to sell wholesale fibre internet services. This follows a recent decision by the federal cabinet that denied an appeal from BCE, a major telecom provider. The earlier ruling allowed smaller internet service providers to access fibre networks owned by Bell Canada and TELUS. The CRTC will gather feedback from stakeholders until December 12, 2024. This consultation could greatly affect how internet services are delivered across Canada, particularly in rural and underserved areas.
Pro-Palestinian protests in Montreal. Montreal police are looking into graffiti found at Université de Montréal ahead of upcoming pro-Palestinian protests. The graffiti, stating Palestine Libre, appeared outside the Jean Brillant Pavilion. Thousands of students plan to strike across Quebec and globally on November 21st and 22nd, 2024, to demand an end to the Israel-Hamas conflict. In solidarity with the protests, Dawson College has canceled classes on November 21st. The rally is set to start at 1 p.m. on de Maisonneuve Boulevard. coinciding with the International Day of Action Against Genocide and Student Repression.
Groupe Dynamite launches IPO in Canada. Groupe Dynamite, a fashion retailer located in Montreal, Canada, has announced a $300 million initial public offering on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Trading will start on November 23, 2024, with shares priced at $21 each. The company is targeting a market capitalization of about $2.3 billion. Established in 1975, Groupe Dynamite has grown to operate nearly 300 stores across Canada and the United States, employing around 6,000 people. This initial public offering represents a significant milestone, marking one of the first major Canadian companies to go public after a lengthy period of inactivity in the market.
Quebec students protest for Palestinian solidarity. On November 21, 2024, students from universities and cégeps across Quebec, Canada, held pro-Palestinian protests. The Dawson Student Union organized these demonstrations to coincide with the International Day of Action Against Genocide and Student Repression. The protests aimed to show solidarity with Palestinians, especially those in Gaza, who have been unable to attend school for over 400 days due to ongoing conflict. In response to the protests, Dawson College canceled classes for safety reasons, prompting mixed reactions from students and various organizations. The demonstrations featured messages of support and brought attention to the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Canada announces financial relief measures. On November 21, 2024, the Canadian government announced new measures to help citizens dealing with rising costs. Prime Minister Trudeau revealed plans to send $250 Canadian to approximately 18.7 million Canadians earning $150,000 Canadian or less in 2023. This financial assistance will cost the government around 4.7 billion Canadian dollars. Additionally, a temporary cut to the Goods and Services Tax, or GST, will start on December 14th and continue until February 15th. This tax break will apply to essential items like prepared foods, children's clothing, and Christmas trees. These measures aim to ease financial pressure during the holiday season and respond to public dissatisfaction with the cost of living.
Montreal's 2025 budget announcement. On November 20, 2024, Montreal's Mayor Valérie Plante presented the city's budget for 2025, totaling $7.28 billion. This budget features a 2.2% increase in property taxes for homeowners and a 1.9% increase for commercial properties. Key priorities include funding for housing and public transit, with $762 million allocated for transit and $46 million set aside for housing initiatives. The city plans to construct 60 modular housing units to support the homeless population. Public security, which encompasses police services, receives the largest portion of the budget at 18%. Opposition leaders criticize the mayor for not managing expenses effectively and for not adequately addressing issues like congestion and cleanliness. The next municipal election is set for November 2, 2025.
That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.